Hi there, welcome to Dr. Tu Academy. This is the second lesson of Java tutorial for beginners. The topic of this lesson is data types and variables. Programming is all about data. I've been doing programming for over 20 years, and most of my programming work was dealing with different types of data. Here's a common data type. Integer, int, double is a floating point, double precision floating point. Boolean has only two values, either true or false. Char is for a single character. String is a string of characters. Variables is a placeholder for data. For different type of data, we need a different type of variables to hold it. How to use variables? We first declare a variable. Then we need to put data into a variable or get data from a variable. I will talk about the variable naming convention later. Here's a naming convention of package, class, and variable. For package name, we saw that already in our last lesson, must be all lower cases. And the reversed internet domain name. Here's an example about this lesson's package. Class names must be nouns. We can use mixed case words, capital first letter of each word. Here's our example, code tester. Variable name. Remember never to use underscore or $sign as the first character. We can use mixed case words. The first letter must be lowercase. Sometimes we have the temporary variable which can be thrown away. So for this type of variables, we can use a single character like I, J, K. Now before we start our programming of this lesson, let me change the editor fonts so we can see it more clearly on screen. Now let's double-click eclipse.exe file to start the Eclipse. This is the project from our last lesson. For people to view it from the smaller screen, I need to make the font a little bit bigger. So to change the font, I click Window, Preferences, select General, Appearance, Color and Font, select Basic, Text Font, Edit. The font size is 10. We can choose 16. Click OK. Click Apply. This seems to be good. So we can click Apply and Close. We don't need this cheat sheets, so we click to close it. Now let's create a new project for lesson number 2. File, New. We can click Java Project, Old Project. Select Java Project. Next. Project name. Lesson 02. Next. Finish. Module name is the reversed order of our internet domain name. com.doctor.java-tutorial.lesson02. Remember, the module name has to be all in lowercase. Click Create. Now we have created the module. We need to add a new class so we can put our code into the class. Right click, New Class, click. Package name is the same as the module name. com.doctor2academy Java tutorial. Lesson 02. Class code tester. Click on Finish. Now we need to write the main function to test our code. Public static void main string marks brace. Here's the main method, and we can do our data variable testing here. So let's try some integer variable first. We type int. Let's call it sum. Number 1, number 2, number 3. This means we declared 4 variables. Its type is integer, and we can write a statement. So number 1 equals 10. Sorry, it's not equals 10. It's we assign the 10 into the number 1 data variable. Number 1 is just a placeholder for 10. So number 2, we assign 20. Number 3, we assign 30. Now we can add these 3 numbers into the sum. Number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3. The result should be 60, right? So we can take a look. Remember, we have this printout function, system.out print line sum equals for each statement we have to use semicolon. At the end of each statement we have to put a semicolon here. That's how the Java can distinguish different statements. So for data variables, we can use the data type, say integer, and the variable name. See, the variable name, the first letter is always the lowercase. And here, once we declared number variables, we can assign the value into the variables. And we can do some manipulations here, like add these three numbers and put the value into the variable sum. So to test it out, we can just put a breakpoint here. Number 1, double click, lines 7. See the blue dot, that means we have the breakpoint here. Now we put another breakpoint here. Let's test it out. Click on the debug. It's called the debug button. Now let's start the debug. Okay, it stopped here. And then we can press F6 or click this button, step over. Look at here, the number 10 is put into the variable number 1. So the data variable number 1 has the value 10. Let's step over. We can see the number 2 has the value 20. Step over, the number 3 has the value 30. Now if we step through this line, we should see an output sum equals 60 here, right? So let's do it. Step over. See? Here's the output. So if we have the output, it will be shown here. But we can check the data variable values here. It's called, you see, the variable. Now step over, finish the debugger. Now let's try some. Here is the integer data type. Let's try some double variables. Double, it's called XYZ. So XYZ sum X, Y, Z. We have to have the semicolon at the end of the statement. Let's put X equals 10.01 y equals 10.1 z equals 9.2. Okay. So what this means is we put the floating point 10.01 into the variable x and 10.01 into the variable y, and the value 9.2 into the variable z. So double x, y, z sum equals x plus y plus z. What the statement means, we add the value of these three variables and put the value assigned to the variable x, y, z sum. Again, we can print out to the output console. So we type print line. Let's call it x, y, z sum is, this is a string, we can type whatever we want, and plus, that means we concatenate these two strings. The string x, y, z sum is, and concatenate the string with the value of x, y, z sum. We have to put a semicolon here, otherwise you see the red here. There is a red line. That means that statement is not complete. But if we type semicolon here, it will disappear. Now, let's put a breakpoint here. Let's run this program. Click on this debug button. We can quickly step over. Notice the value here. Number 1, number 2, number 3. We printed out sum equals 60, right? Now let's do the double data variables. X, the value x is 10.01. Y is 10.1. Z is 9.2. So the value, the sum of the three variables should be 29.31, right? Let's see. You see the data variable x, y, z sum, it's 29.31. It is correct. Now we want to print out these lines here. So step over, you see the x, y, z sum is 29.31. Step over. Now we have shown how to use the integer and double to declare variables and assign values to these variables. Now let's try some char variable and string variables. Char, single char, we call that char. What we call that? CX, CY, string, my name. So here we create two char type variables. We declare the CX, CY has the type char, and my name is the string variable. That's for char variables, you can only put single characters into it. So J, let's say J, CY equal. We can also put different symbol into it. Let's add another variable, CJ. Let's put a number into it. For string variables, we can put a string of characters into it. So my name, let's put Jeff. Let's print out print line. My name is my name. So this statement will print out first the string my name is, then we concatenate my name is with the value inside this variable. It should be Jeff. Now let's click the debug button. We step over, see the value here. Now let's do the double variables. So the value assigned to these double variables, we print out sum equals 60. Next, now we print out XY. The sum is 29.31. Now let's assign J into the variable CX. See here, J, right? The dollar signs put into the CY. put into the CZ. My name now is Jeff. So this line will print out this string. My name is Jeff. Here, my name is Jeff. So this is how we use the data types and the variables. We can always declare the variables by put the data type first, then the variable next. If we want to declare several variables, we can use the comma to separate them. For each statement, we have to end with the semicolon, and we can initialize the value of the variables. Use the equal sign. Put the value on the left-hand side into the variables on the, this is the right-hand side. Put the value of the right-hand side into the variables on the left-hand side. And we can use the variables to do all kinds of manipulations. The data types and data variables are the building blocks of our Java programming. We'll see more of them later on, and we'll use them all the time. Here's what we have learned in this lesson. Data types and the data variables. We know programming is all about data, so we must know our data types. We have learned integer, double, boolean, char, and string. Variable is just a placeholder for our data in our program. How to use a variable? We first declare a variable with the type, data type. Then we can put data into a variable or get data from a variable. Our next lesson will be data operators. So we have the data variables, but we also need to use operators to operate on these data variables and values. So next lesson we'll learn assignment operators, arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical operators. That's all for this lesson. I will see you next time.